Hi everyone and welcome to today's episode of the Flying Changes Mindset Show. I'm Jenny Winterleach and I'm joined today by the lovely Holly Barber. Hi Holly.
Hello.
Now Holly, or how do I introduce you? Number 6 in the world has to come out straight away there. So Holly is a working equitation extraordinaire. International rider for Team GB, and someone I have had the pleasure to get to know over the last year as being part of these squads. And we're going to find out today about you, Holly, not so much about working equitation, we've heard that a lot, but more about what's behind Holly Barber, number 6 in the world. Have to just get that in again. And about you and about being in the sport. So Holly, just give us a little introduction to yourself that isn't from my words. What would you say about you and what you do in a short nugget for us?
Sure, nugget. So I am very lucky. My mother is horsey. She's always had a passion for horses, and she always wanted to set up her own riding school. And that's what she did. So we in Norfolk, we've got Pine Lodge School of Classical Equitation, and I grew up in a riding school, but not like your average riding school. It was classical background, mostly private lessons on schoolmasters and that sort of thing. And I was really lucky that I was able to ride lots of schoolmasters and learn how to ride on them with various instructors. And she got into the Lusitanos in the late 90s, and that's where I got my love for Lusitanos from. And then that sort of led on to working equitation as well, which is my sort of main love. But yeah, very lucky that I've just had everything here. And when I left school at 16, I came straight to work in the riding school. So I was a riding school instructor for 10 years. And we shut the riding school a couple of years ago. So now it's just a training yard. So we take horses in for, backing training, not just in working equitation, just sort of general riding as well, and just helping people with their horses, really.
Lovely. So tell us what it must have been like. I mean, God, that is my dream as a child, to have grown up riding schoolmasters. I mean, most of us get whatever riding school pony, and don't get me wrong, they're lovely, aren't they, riding horses normally? They're very sweet, but they're often very, sour to the world and quite savvy, and, like won't do half of the stuff that a lovely schoolmaster would do, that's for sure. What was it like growing up, getting that level of incredible education in equitation and in riding?
It's so cool. We had a lot of quirky horses. So when I was younger, and like we did a lot of trade on taking in sort of quirky horses, because they actually make the best school horses. As long as they're not dangerous, they've just got some quirks about them when you can do some training and some work with them, because they don't go sour and you don't end up with your sort of bog standard sort of riding school ponies. So we had a lot of quirky ones, but just brilliant having these advanced horses. And when I started working equitation as well, I had horses that were already at advanced level, so I didn't have to do that training of them myself. I learned on horses that already knew it, which was fantastic. I learned how to do everything, and then I could take that into training horses how to do all these things. But yeah, great. I mean, Mum was very good in that I had to work for it all, so it wasn't just like I could walk out and get on my own horse and just ride. I had to do all the grunt work, and in order to so that I had to work for it. So she was quite good about not making me too spoiled.
And what do you think that's developed for you over the years? Like the fact that it wasn't just given to you on a plate, because there are probably people that think it was, because this happens all the time, doesn't it? Someone sees where someone's at now. And I mean, even Charlotte Drizardan was saying this the other day in her masterclass, like, I didn't get given Vallegro as he was. Like, I have had to ride so many different horses and deal with so many different things. And I have had to go through all the hard stuff to get to where I am now. And it's that resilience that's meant that she is where she is now, and she wants it so much that it'll overcome. How has that kind of developed for you, having, had to go and want it and get it and not be just given it over the years?
Yeah, I think it just gives me a good work ethic. I have to work for everything. I want to work for everything, and I know that, you know, I can't just be given it on a plate and it's all there. I know the what's the word? I know the value in hard work and how rewarding it is, you know, putting all that hard work in and seeing the results of that. And I think that's really important.
And what do you think that's done for you in your riding? Because, you know, horses are great levelers, aren't they? As we know. And I've seen even in this year, you've had some ups and downs with, you know, your lovely advanced horses and then your youngsters, and had the privilege to be ridden into by you as we were doing a demo, as your young horse went, ah! As we were trying to do a lovely thing going round, and bless him, it was just about holding it all together. So I've seen that obviously you've got the skills and the ability to deal with the ones that look lovely and perfect and you look like you're just sitting there, and then equally the ones that you've got to literally hold their hands and work with them. How has, you know, that work ethic helped you in your riding with your horses?
I think that I'm not. I don't know. That's a really. I think that's quite a tricky one to answer. But I'm not. I think I'm not a bad loser. You know, I accept that, you know, some competitions are training, you know, and it's not all going to go perfectly, but that's fine, because I'm looking towards the future, and I've got to you know, create a horse that's going to be confident and do really well at the higher levels. And for me, at the lower levels, if it doesn't go great, then it doesn't go great. You know, it's a training experience. So, you know, whether I'm first or last, you'll always see me cheerful, and I might have a little bit of grumble in private, but actually I'm not a bad loser. I'm happy to take training experiences even whilst I'm competing, sort of thing.
And I have to say that is so true. I would totally agree that even on a bad day, you'll find something to laugh about, and you'll find something funny, and it is good fun competing against you. The one time I beat you, we even laughed about it, and you probably sat there going, that'll be your one time. Don't think that'll happen again. But yeah, you know, it is. And I have to say that in the working equitation community, which is obviously where we compete against each other, it's a small community, isn't it? Because it's a growing sport, and we have to be like nice to each other and actually support each other, because if we didn't, like, it's too small. It's too small for that, isn't it? What have you found being part of such a small community, and even the Lusitano community? You know, they're both very niche, very small. And what's it been like growing up in those kind of communities?
I love the fact that they're small, because I just think you get such a family feeling. You know, everyone knows each other, and even if you have new people come in, they just join, you know, come in and join in, and they have a really nice community to come and join into. And I think that's really nice, and I think that gets lost in the bigger sports. And, you know, and it can get a little bit so cliquey and that sort of thing. And I suppose some people might say that about the working it with like the squad or whatever, but I think it's just, you know, everyone knows each other, and it's good fun, and you know, you all socialize together at the shows and just have a good time, and everyone is really supportive. You know, you come out and you've done a bad round, and there's people there to sort of try and pick you up and cheer you up and everything. And you know, when you've had a good round, people saying, yeah, well done, you know, brilliant, not people going, oh, you know, about it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think that people realize how hard it is, isn't it? Because it's a really hard sport. It's a bit like eventing, where you have to be good at 3 different disciplines, and they are really distinctly different, aren't they? But there's common things between them. But I think anyone competing in it knows how hard it is, and you do actually get this, to be fair, you do get at the higher levels, at the professional levels of eventing, dressage, jumping, all of that. Actually, they're not that bitchy and horrible about each other, because they know how hard they've had to work to get to that point. And I kind of feel like in the small sports, especially something like working eq, where it is hard, it's really, I've definitely discovered it's really hard in the last year. Yeah, a bit of a baptism of fire there, I think, watching it going, oh yeah, I reckon I could do that. Yeah, literally. And my poor horse has said the same, I think. But actually you support each other more because you appreciate that everyone does have bad days. And I think sometimes that gets lost in the unaffiliated realms of the sport sometimes. I think less so in eventing, actually, because you've got to do your 3 disciplines. But what have you found? I mean, have you been out and competed much in the other areas, or have you really stuck to your working equitation and your sort of Lusitano showing and that side of things?
I've done a little bit of dressage, but to be honest, the working ec is sort of, if you want to do really well at something, you've got to put your whole being, your whole heart into what it, if you really want it, you know, the commitment is just all encompassing, you know, which is great. You know, I love that, but it does leave little time for other things, because that is my sort of sole focus. So I have done a little bit of dressage, but it's mostly working ec. And I do showing in the Lusitano bit as well, but again, not as much.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? And again, probably why there's this lovely atmosphere of everyone supporting each other, because we're all at the same things and you go to the same stuff, don't you? And you support each other and you're competing against the same people a lot of the time. There might be a newbie that appears, which is nice, but do you know what, having been a newbie in the world, what was so lovely about it was that everyone goes, oh, brilliant, a newbie, come on in, we'll help you out. It's not like, oh no, look at them, they might be quite good. What do you think it is that means that our sport is like that and not like some of the others where people are threatened by it and then start behaving bad?
I don't know. I guess, you know, what you've already said, it's just like, you know, being quite small, and, you know, when you start competing, you just realize like how hard it is. You know, everyone thinks, oh yeah, I could do that. And yes, it's great fun, but, you know, it is hard work, and people appreciate that. But yeah, just keeping it, it's, you know, the fact that it's small, I think does help with that.
Okay, so what has been your proudest or greatest or highest moment in your career as a rider?
It has to be the 6th in the world jobby, because it's on Esparta, and he is like my world, and he's the first horse that, not the first horse that I've trained to that level. I have trained several horses, but they were all missing that special something, and he has it. So to have trained him, obviously with help, but myself from, you know, a youngster, and got all the way up to the top and achieving that sort of level, that placing was just, and he was, it was his first championships, and like I could not have been prouder of him. He just really stepped up to the plate. You know, he went in, he was calm, he was focused, he was like, I know what I'm doing. And he was probably the best in competition that I've ever had him, was at the championships. And I was just so chuffed with him. Like, yeah.
I think that's fair. I could understand why that's a really proud moment. And interestingly enough, although you did get 6th in a world championships, which is amazing, it's interesting. It's always fascinating when I ask people that question, because the answer always comes back to the elements that made that result, and not so much the result itself. Like, you know, like you said, you trained him to that point and he was that horse. Did you know that, oh, obviously you didn't know, but did you get an inkling that he was going to be a really great working ec horse when you started working with him? Or did you just kind of see how far you could get?
I always thought he was going to be really good for the working ec, but he just like, he's just so me. So what, you know, whatever he did, you know, would have been fine. But and the thing I really love about him is like, he's really good at exceeding people's expectations. So, you know, a lot of people have over the time sort of thought that he'd sort of reached the limit of the best he could do, sort of thing, and he's like, nah, I can do more. And he just like smashes through that. You know, he's always doing it. He's just, yeah, he's brilliant.
And so what do you think then makes a really great working equitation horse? What would be the kind of characteristics that, if you could go and genetically create one or something, that you would put into that genetics, that mindset of that horse, that even that physical ability, what would you create?
So with Sparts, like, he's like movement and everything, he's not really anything special. He's not got the best movements or anything like that, but the partnership that I have with him is like nothing else, and that you know, it is really important, I think, for the working equitation. And the fact that he's like, his brain is brilliant. He's got like such a good work ethic. You know, he just wants to work. He wants to do what you want. He gets tense about things. But, you know, probably if I wanted to make something really special, it would be like everything I have with him, maybe with a bit better movement, you know, natural. I mean, because he's got such a good brain to work with, we've obviously improved the paces, and like he's got a manufactured trot and stuff like that, because he's been so good to work with, basically. That something with a bit more better natural movement would be better. But like, the thing I love really with the working neck is you've got to have like such a good partnership with the horse to do everything, really.
So what is it about that? Tell us more about why that's the case. You think that you've got to have that great partnership, and why it probably therefore is addictive for anyone that really has that partnership with their horse or wants to develop it.
I think because you have got those three very different phases, and particularly with the obstacles, if you haven't got the naturally bravest horse, I don't think it matters if they trust you and you say, yeah, we're going to walk over this strange bridge, and they're like, okay, yeah, if you say so, that's what I'm going to do. And to, you know, go from doing your dressage test to then round all these obstacles, and then when you get to the speed, just, you know, being able to have the calm, very dressage type around the obstacles, to, you know, it becoming the speed round. You know, the speed, it's not just about going flat out between everything. You know, you've got to make sure you're efficient with the obstacles that you're handling, and that you can go from calm to fast, and then, you know, at the next competition that actually you've got to be calm again for the style. It's not all about sort of yeehaw.
But the yeehaw's fun though, isn't it?
It is very fun.
It's nice to have a little bit of yeehaw, yeah, with all that, you know, gentle, beautiful, lovely harmony dressage, and then you do get a little bit of adrenaline. It is good.
Yeah.
So what would you say has been like your biggest challenge in your career so far, that you've really had to like overcome, that actually, looking back, you can see now was such a great thing to have to go through, and that made a big difference for you?
I don't think I could sort of pinpoint anything specifically. I think just sort of working with horses in general, it's not all, you know, as it appears. You know, you turn up at a competition and do really well, you know, brilliant. Just working every day with horses, it's not all, you know, great. You know, you do have bits where you feel you've plateaued, or, you know, you lose confidence in yourself. Like, do I actually know what I'm doing? Why is this not happening? You know, horses are like that. As you said, they're great levelers. And it doesn't always go brilliantly, and there's setbacks and, you know, stuff like that. And just trying to find a way through that, you know, is can be quite hard. But, you know, I'm really lucky. I have such a great support team here. You know, my mum is my biggest fan, you know, and my dad, you know, just having such a great support team, you know, having a really good trainer who you know, trust and everything. You know, Paolo Santos is my trainer, and, you know, he's done so much for me, you know, taught me so much. That was great finding him, and all the other instructors I've had a lot of instructors, but, you know, just finding a way through that when you sort of doubting yourself, you know, even as a professional, we all have that.
Yeah, and I think that's really key, isn't it? I think a lot of people think, you know, success is this plain sailing journey, especially when you get successful quite quick. Like, you know, if we look at your journey, you reached like that point quite quickly, really. But actually, when you start breaking it down, and it's like, well, I was, I had a great start, I had really good support, I had some fantastic tuition, all of those things just accelerate it a bit quicker. But it doesn't mean it was an easy journey. It doesn't mean it's been plain sailing for you. I mean, surely there have been things along the way that have really made you question stuff. I mean, at any point, have you actually ever questioned if this is what you want, or if it, because you grew up in this environment? So have you ever questioned if it's what you wanted, or has it always been really obvious? It's okay, Mum. I know Mummy Barber's listening. It's okay, Mummy Barber. She's still with us. It's okay.
Obviously I've had days where I'm like, oh God, what am I doing? But never to the point where like I would actually reconsider what I'm doing. Then to be honest, like, what else would I do? I've got no idea what I do. And sometimes I get asked that, what would you do if it wasn't a horse? I've literally got no idea.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And that's true, isn't it? Like, actually, if you love the environment you're in, great. If people don't love the environment they're in, then they want to change it. That's a very different thing. But it's lovely to be growing up and have, like you say, that support around you and people, and you just think, yeah, this is where I'm going to be. And that must be really amazing from a mindset perspective for you to just grow and build on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what has been, or who has been perhaps, or is there anyone that is like really inspirational to you, who you look up to? You may or may not know them, but that you think, wow, I want a bit of what they've got. How did they get that?
Not someone that I particularly know, in as far as like, oh, I want to be that person sort of thing. I just, I think the people that inspire me the most are the people sort of around me that help me a lot. My mum, what she did to get where she is, and that sort of drive and the way she treats people and, everything like that. But also, I think Paolo inspires me a lot because he's I have to say he's like the best instructor I've ever had. He gets me like no one else. He sees everything. He always gets the best out of me and the horses. Like that, I've had great instructors, but he's definitely been the best for that. And they inspire me, I think. Just the people around me, really, and the way they are.
How amazing is that? How nice must it be to have the people that are closest around you, the ones that inspire you the most? Because it's so very often the case, isn't it, that people are inspired by people they'll never get to meet, or, can't be around, and certainly won't ever get to train with, or maybe they will, maybe they'll get one lesson with them or something, but, they have to be inspired from a distance. So the flip side of inspiring then is comparison. And I suppose, I don't know if this is ever really something that you've had because of where you're at and what you've been doing, but have you ever found yourself comparing yourself to others, or perhaps thinking, oh, they're a bit better, or, how did they get that? That's not fair. Or even maybe even being jealous. You might not particularly want to say who on this occasion. You can if you want to, that's fine. Have you ever found that? Is that something you've ever had to overcome?
I think if I have, I've had that sort of like drive to be better. Like if I've had I don't think I can think of anyone specifically anyway, but if I've had moments of jealousy or anything like that, I'm just like, right, I can do it. I can do that as well, and drive me to be better, do better in myself.
Yeah, and I think that's the key to it, isn't it? To having that great mindset of, rather than trying to bring them down or messing about, because our sport's a small world as well. Like if you're going to do that kind of thing, people are going to know about it, aren't they? They're going to see it, they're going to spot it, and then they'll know that that's the kind of things that you do and the tricks that you play. And there are people that will do, look at the equestrian world, there are people that do that, isn't it, to try and make themselves feel better. But how amazing must that be to have the mindset of, well, actually it doesn't matter, I'm gonna keep concentrating on me, stick in my lane and do what it is that I want to do. Okay, here's another question for you then. What do people wrongly assume about you?
Sometimes they think I'm a bit standoffish to meet for the first time, or if they meet me or see me on a horse and they've never met me before, because if I'm at a competition, I'm really focused on what I'm doing. And I don't know if I have an expression or a face on or something, but they can find me a bit standoffish, but I'm a fairly shy person. To be fair, like I can be a little bit awkward around new people, and it's only when you get to know me that I'm not like that at all. So, or if I'm not in a horsey environment, like to go and teach a lesson or something like that, just sort of to meet people sort of socially, if I can be a little bit awkward sort of sometimes like that. So some people think I'm a bit standoffish, but like I'm not at all. If you came up to me and started chatting, I'm the friendliest person.
Actually, that's really interesting, because when I was looking into the sport, I went along to a few competitions to watch it, to see what it would be like. And I remember coming to Aston Le Walls one weekend with my friend, and we didn't really know anyone, because the people that we did know that were in the sport weren't there that weekend. So we just sort of wandered along and sort of stood there listening and watched, and we're a little bit awkward, these sort of two random people that turned up that everyone was like, oh, who are they? Like, in a nice way. And I remember, obviously I knew who you were, because I'd seen you and stuff. And I remember coming out from the clubhouse that we were in, and you were sort of wandering back towards the stables, and I had a question, and I just thought, I'm going to ask her. And I was like, Holly, hi, yeah, I have a question. And you could so have just dismissed it or been like really busy. You were kind of in your own world at that point in time. But actually you didn't. You answered it. You kind of lit up. You answered it. You knew all the answers that I wanted to know, because obviously you know everything there is to know about the sport. But and it was just lovely. And I thought, oh, right, okay. And that was one of the reasons that I thought, you know what, I love this sport, because because you're the top person we have in the UK at the moment, really. You could have so been standoffish or a bit like, oh God, who are you, or a newbie or a novice or anything like that, but you weren't. And it did surprise me, because that's not normally what it's like. That is not normally what it's like. Well, that's a big generalization, but sometimes that's not what it's like at all. And I think it's so lovely to have people like yourself spearheading a new and growing sport that are like that, because I think that makes a big difference to welcoming people in. And what's it like being a part of a new and growing sport?
It's I mean, I love introducing people to working egg. I go all over the country doing clinics to try to grow the sport, because I just want people to see what I see and feel what I feel, doing it. And I just, think I just, want people to be part of it. So, that's really great. I love introducing people to it, and that they, come and really enjoy it. And they're like, yes, this is brilliant. I'm like, yes, it is.
We're going to have some kind of initiation bringing people in, though, I think, don't you? Cool. Okay. So what are your kind of dreams and aspirations? Where would you like to go? What would you love to do? What's life about for you for the future?
The competition really drives me. I'm a very competitive person. And I love competing. I have that sort of like, look at me, where I like showing my training that I've done on my horses and stuff. So competition really drives me, and so my sort of aspirations are to do the best that I can in the sport, and my top goal is I'd love to be like world champion or European champion. That's like the massive dream. But actually, if I could just come first in the speed, I would that would be awesome.
And you definitely light up in the speed, don't you? I mean, to watch you do the speed is a joy. It's an absolute joy. It really is, because it's like something in you is unleashed. Is that what it feels like?
Yeah, because obviously I love the dressage and the obstacles. That's great. Requires a lot of focus, and it's really hard, so I have to focus hard and ride at my best, and everything. But the speed, obviously I have to focus and ride well, but like the adrenaline rush from it is just like nothing else, because like I don't want as much adrenaline as like eventing. I'm not that brave, but I need some adrenaline, and I just love it, especially on a Sparta, because he's like the same as me. He just like is mental, and it's like this, you're almost at the point of like out of control on him. And it's like that super thrill, like getting round a course. It's just immense. I love it. And
so what is it that drives you to want to be like world number one, even if it's just in the speeds what's that all about?
It's I think it's just like me, that I'm so driven. I want to show off. I want to show that, I want to show my training that, that look what I can do.
And so if you want to show your training, clearly you must love your training, and by goodness, you have to put a lot of training in to be able to do this, don't you? What's your favorite thing, your favorite element to training, or your favorite thing to do as part of your training?
I love training horses. I love that they teach you like new things every day. And I think they're just amazing, the things you can teach them. I just really enjoy that, because, it's never the same. Even though I've got the same horses that I'm sort of working day in, day out, it's not the same day every day. And they just, you've been training a horse for years, and they, come out one day and they give you something new. I just think that's fascinating, really.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't see the training element, do they? Because we don't get privy to see that stuff. They only see what then comes out in competition. What's your kind of thoughts on the difference between the two, the training versus the competition element of it all?
I think if you've done your job, really well, and you've got that partnership, obviously there's certain factors in competing that you have to take in to consideration. But, the competition is, you're showing your training. And when you're in competition, you can't do more than what you have done sort of in training. I mean, you can a little bit. There's the heightened things in competition, adrenaline, stuff like that. But you're proving what you've been working on, and I think you have to be satisfied with whatever you do in competition, and not disappointed. You have to go away and think, right, well, this needs work on. I need to work on this. When I go home, but you can't do that in competition so much, sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. And being a new sport as well, relatively new, it came back in the 90s, didn't it, really? So as far as, dressage, jumping, eventing, showing, hunting, any of the other sort of disciplines, it's very new in that respect in the UK.
Yeah.
There are loads. I mean, I hear some of them. There are loads of myths and comparisons and things that get thrown around that are quite interesting about the sport of working equitation. What are the ones that you've heard, and what are your kind of favorite ones, like myths and misconceptions about the sport that make you chuckle or you hear all the time? I mean, I know I got told off at the very beginning for calling it handy pony with a pole. I've stopped. I'm really sorry. But what would you say is the stuff that you've come across getting to know people and speak to people that have never heard of it before, or have seen a bit and don't really know what it is?
The handy pony one is the most common one, because you see a lot of speed rounds. I think on the internet it's mostly speed rounds you get to see, because obviously it's the most fun, and you're trying to draw people in, and they see a speed round and think, oh yeah, that's fun, that looks like handy pony, and you're like, yes, come and have a go. And then you'll see.
Yes, oops, sorry. I quickly stopped using that analogy when I got told off for it, and came and had a go and went, oh gosh, no, that's a lot harder than handy pony, isn't it? I wish I could just post some letters through a letterbox and run around with a sack on my head, or whatever it is that they get to do. Okay, so we know that you're seriously driven by this sport, and that it's a growing sport. How would you love to see the sport develop, and how much would you love to actually have some more top level competition to spur you on some more, and I was going to say get you to raise your game, but I think you're going to do that anyway. But what would you love to see it developing towards?
Obviously I'd like to see the sport grow. I think for the sport, but also just for people to come and enjoy the sport as much as we do, and yes, obviously I'd love to have a lot more competition, because to drive me on, to maintain my level, and do better in myself. But yeah, I'd like to see it grow, but I'd like to see it keep all the good things about it, you know, the family feel and all that sort of thing. I want it to keep those sort of the good things about it by it not getting sort of too large and becoming just like another sport. I think definitely the sort of the family feel, you know, I think is really important, and I'd like it to keep that whilst growing.
And so you've mentioned that a few times, this concept of the family feel. How would you describe that to people? If people are like, what is a family feel in a sport? Like, what on earth is she on about? Does that just mean we argue with each other at Christmas or something? Like, what's a family feel? Because that's really uncommon in a lot of sports. Until you're often at the high level and you're out competing the same kind of places of people, then you do get a bit of a family feel with stuff in some of the sports. But what do you mean?
Well, I have a very close family, and we like get on. I mean, we work together, you know, and live together and everything. So, you know, we're very close. So I'm, you know, lucky in that sense. And obviously some people don't have that sort of closeness and everything. And I think, you know, if they have family feel, if they have a sort of community that, you know, really supports them and wants them to do well, and, you know, to have a good time with, it's like a family you choose, I guess. You know, if you could choose, you know, the ideal family or something, to have those people around you that, you know, care about you and support you, and all of that, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's really key as well, because, you know, one of the things I'm trying to create with things like Eden, the Equine Development Empowerment Network, is that kind of family feel of we're all striving for things. We've all got challenges on the way, but we can all support each other. We don't have to drag each other down. We can support each other. We can still compete against each other. That's perfectly fine. We'll do that. But you can do it in a sportsman-like way. Like a quote that Charlie Unwin used once that I absolutely love, which is, all ships rise on a rising tide. We can all get better and bring each other up together. We don't have to fight against each other or belittle each other, or, you know, have that. And I would love to see that family feel go out into the wider equine community, because we are a bunch of weirdos. Like, it does take some strange gene in us to want to do what we do, whether that be as a hobby or as a professional. Like, we definitely have a gene that's not right somewhere along the lines, don't we? I mean, let's face it, you know, look at what we do and how we do.
Horse people, so
yeah, well, exactly. And there are many of us out there like myself who aren't from a horsey family and didn't have that incredible opportunity to do it when we grew up. Maybe I stole a riding lesson every 2 weeks, you know, sort of thing. Not literally stole, obviously my parents paid for it, but, like, you know, not everyone has that opportunity to have that start and that background, but so many people fight to have it. And why shouldn't we be in that wider community? How do you see that family feel, that community element, spreading to other sports? Do you think it's even possible, or is it only in the smaller sports?
I don't see why it shouldn't be in all the other sports, but I think it's about people, you know, being those people to try and make it like that. You know, if you can take it out to more people, and you know, if you are the one to try to create that feel instead of sort of relying on everyone else, I think you have to be that person to try to create that feel. My mum is a perfect example of doing that. Like, she's the sort of person that will, you know, go and speak to strangers, and, you know, she's always lovely to them, and I'm a lot more reserved than that. I find it quite hard to sort of go and just talk to people, but she'll, you know, just if we're at a dressage competition or something, someone will come out and she'll say, you know, that was a lovely test, or, you know, and she'll just, you know, be that person to be nice to everyone, whether they're strangers or not. And I think we need more people like that, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think you have to be like, your mum's gorgeous, she tried to hug me through the window of the car once, which was quite a surprise. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't really know her that well at that point in time. You don't have to be you don't have to be that kind of person. They're lovely to have in the world. They're really lovely to have, aren't they? But I think, you know, it's been really interesting chatting to you, and you saying you're more reserved and you're a little bit maybe more awkward in those kind of environments, and you wouldn't try and hug someone through the car window if you didn't know them very well, for instance, or, you know, go running up to them and go, oh, that was amazing, well done. But you show your support and your openness and your willingness in other ways. And I think that's what it's about, isn't it? Creating community is about you being true to yourself, but also still supporting others. And one of the comments that came through was just listening and thinking that how Holly is with her horses and her training, kind, empathetic and generous, is exactly how she is with people too. One of the loveliest and most inspirational people I know. So, you know, get the tissues, Holly. There you go. But yeah, you know, it's true, isn't it? I think so often we are a reflection of how we treat our horses and that as well. Would you agree that that probably is how you treat your horses, like empathetic and generous, and that's how you work with them?
I try to. I certainly try to. Yeah. So yeah, I guess they are the mirror. I think horses get a lot more of the real me than anyone else. You know, I can be entirely myself with a horse. So whether it's I guess it's harder with people, but I certainly try to be that person all the time.
Yeah, and having grown up with that, do you think that's probably what's helped you to become you, is the fact you've had the opportunity to be around them that much and just to be yourself, and that's given you that permission to do that?
I think it helps me be very what's the word, steady in myself. I think you know, horses, they can teach you so much about yourself, and just be happy with who you are.
Yeah, I think that's really important, isn't it? Like, stop trying to be other people. Like, you are who you are and get happy with it. It doesn't mean you have to be horrible to others, but you can just be who you are. And the horses will very much mirror that as well. One of the things about you when you see you with the horses, there's definitely, so jealous, partnership and harmony in whatever horse you're sat on, whether that be a young one like your gorgeous Mistral who kind of goes, oh my god, I don't know what's going on in the world, help, or whether that be a Sparta who's, you know, he's your stalwart's probably not the right word, is it? He's, you know, he's much more measured and, you know, regal and what's the, you know, experienced in life, shall we say. He's a schoolmaster, isn't he, really? Is he in one of those pictures behind you? Is any of those him?
Yeah,
beautiful those behind you.
That one is that
one. There.
That one.
Oh, gorgeous grey one. They're all grey. They're all beautiful.
Those two are Sparty. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you think you've developed together to get to that point where the two of you just look as one?
Very, very hard work.
So, what, it didn't start like that? Is that what you're saying?
No. Oh, bless him.
Yeah. What kind of challenges did he throw at you then?
He's quite stubborn. He only puts in as much as you put in. So you have to, you know, try as hard as he does. He finds things, you know, I said he wasn't the most best natural moving horse. So he finds some things challenging and he can be quite tense about those things until he's comfortable with them. And yeah, we had when I first had him, I was adamant I was going to keep him as a stallion because he was quite small. I mean, he is small, he's 15 too, and I wanted him to keep that presence. Like, he could, if a 17-hand horse came next to him when he was a stallion, he would be 17 hands, you know, he'd puff himself up, and I wanted him to keep that presence, but it just meant that he had too much tension and thinking about other things too much and not sort of focusing on his job. So it made a big difference when I gelded him. But he is quite a hot, tense horse, which can get in the way sometimes. Not so much now. He's a lot more relaxed about what he does because he knows what he's doing. He knows his job. But that was quite hard, getting through the tension to do things. I guess that was the sort of biggest thing with him.
Yeah. And I think it's been lovely seeing behind the scenes of your world, you know, like, it's so easy to see the accolades you've got now or the things you've achieved and where you're at now. And I only met him a year ago and saw him in his prime, clearly, and, you know, and then I've seen you on your young ones and working with them. But it's been so lovely to hear how you've got there and what kind of person you are, and actually to, you know, for some people to speak to you who might not feel they can, you know, when you're out and about or whatever, although apparently you can, but just she does like to concentrate as well, so don't go all crowding around, Holly, you know. So what would you like, is there anything you'd like to share or say to people who, maybe are interested in trying something new, or a little bit worried about doing something that's a bit different to everyone else, or would like to give something a go? What would you say to them?
Give it a go. Do you. Don't worry about like what anyone else says. You do what you want to do, and just give it a go. You never know what you might find.
Yeah, definitely. I have to say it's been really interesting, because obviously you've been a part of this like your whole life. It's been what you are. I was someone who found out about it a couple of years ago, and it was this I'd never even heard of the thing before, let alone seen it. And it's definitely been really interesting dealing with coming from riding club, dressage, showing background, bit of an all-rounder doing all sorts of things, into this new sport where, like you say, for the past year I've done nothing else. I have not entered a single competition that wasn't working echo. I've not put into a single bit of training that wasn't to do with it. And for people, there have been some people that are like, what's this new thing that like you've given up everything and you've gone to do? And it can be really interesting to have that. But like you say, just be you, do what you enjoy. It doesn't have to be what everyone else is doing around you as well. Find the people that you fit with and stick to it, whatever that might be. And I think that's probably been the key to your success, is like you have been in that family who love it and support you with it and get it. And that's what's helped you to climb the ladder to where you are now. And no doubt that ladder is going to keep going further and further. So I'm sure it will. There's no hopefully about it, is there really? Come on, let's face it. You're not just going to give up and go and work in Sainsbury's, are you? Well, you might. Who knows? So one of the things that you've got coming up, and I know to those of you listening back to this on the podcast, it will probably be gone by the time you're now listening to this, but is the Horsemanship Showcase on the 20th of November. The year at the moment is 2021, in case anyone's listening to this way off in the future. You never know. People do. What are you looking forward to in that? What is it that I can't wait? I can't wait to be a part of it. But what are you looking forward to showing people and doing in that?
So I'm excited to be bringing working equitation again. The more people I can get it out to, and they say, oh yeah, that looks quite cool, that that looks fun, I'm gonna give that a go, and sort of have a look into it and stuff. So I'm always excited to bring working equitation to people. So that's what I'm doing in the day, and then we have our nighttime performance at Berry Farm, which is going to be really exciting. Lots of all different sort of horsemanship, from liberty to trick riding, and we've got working eck riders doing all sorts. It's nice that we can take these horses that do the working eck, and the thing I like is that I think it makes it easier to go and do other things. Whatever you want to do, I find it provides a really good platform for that. So we're going to go do a display with lights and loads of dressed up and fire and all that sort of thing. Or like in Devon, stilt walkers. Come on, Mistral, you've got to go and do a display with the stilt walkers.
In the dark with lights and sounds and not steam, what's the word for it? Smoke, yeah. And all of that. And bless him, he just went, Mom, I don't know what's going on. You were like, don't worry, I'll just tell you where to go. It's not a problem. Oh, all right then. Okay, not sure about this. But yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? That actually it doesn't matter how you get there, what methodology you use, but if horsemanship and having horses is about creating that trust and that having that harmony together, and them saying to you, I'm not sure, or vice versa sometimes as well, and just holding each other's hands and being there for each other means you can go and do anything you like, doesn't it? Like, oh, I fancy I go this, or I think I'm going to do that. Then definitely what's come through to me is from you is that if you want to achieve a specific thing, it has to kind of be your one and only focus, and that's what you have to do if that's what you really want to be top of your game at. And that's exactly, again, you listen to any of the top riders, that's what they say. You've got a dedication. That's the word, dedication. But actually, if you're someone that just wants to have a go at loads of things, enjoy loads of stuff with your horse, do different things with them, develop a great partnership, then there are definitely elements of horsemanship and ways that you can train that will help you do that. And working equitation is definitely one of those, because in itself, in the 3 phases, you've got to have that partnership, harmony, trust, communication, and ability to be able to do whatever it is that's put in front of you in that point in time. So that's definitely what I'm hearing from you from today, Holly. Would you agree?
Yeah, totally. And like I'm a big fan of anything horsey. If it's good horsemanship, I'm interested in it, you know. And if you are the sort of person that wants to sort of dip your toe in all sorts of things, and that's, you know, that's great. I think that's really nice. I'm interested in other things. I like taking samples from different disciplines and everything and taking them into training my horses, because, you know, if I like something and it works, then, you know, great. And, you know, everyone has different opinions on stuff and different ways of doing things. So, you know, great.
Awesome. So jack of all trades, but master of one. Decide what it is you want to do and do it. And that could be a lot of things, or you could go for the buffet, or you could go for the a la carte. It's absolutely fine, whichever it is you decide on. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Holly. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know you a little bit today. And what's one thing you'd love to leave with people, if as your kind of closing comment to bring everything in together?
Oh God, that's like, well, putting me on the spot. One thing.
Yeah, sorry. Come on, I'm going to give you some time to think about what is, if you had one message or one thing you could say to people that kind of sums up your ethos, or, you know, something inspiring. It doesn't have to be inspiring. It's fine. I'm not going to like put the pressure on here.
On the spot.
Yeah. Come on, Holly. It's in there. It's in there. I know you've got this, girl.
No, I'd just say, like, do you know, do what you want to do. Don't, that would be my, I think that's my inspirational quote. That's all I can come up with.
I think that's amazing. Do what you want to do. I think that's incredible. I absolutely love that. I think totally agree with you. And I think so. Holly Barber says, "Do you?" There you go. And she even made it 2 words. That is the shortest inspirational thing that anyone's ever come up with. There you go. She might joke about not knowing this stuff, but it's in there. It's so in there. She just someone has to eke it out of her, and it comes out in 2 perfect, distinct words. Holly Barber says, "Do you?" There you go. Well, thank you so much. It's been an absolute joy chatting to you. Cannot wait to see you this weekend at the Horsemanship Showcase, and then obviously at our Working Ec Glitter Ball this year for our prizes, or whatever it is. I don't know. I've never been before, so it's going to be fun. Glittered from head to toe, no doubt. And yeah, looking forward to seeing you out and about for another year next year of a full packed, I think, schedule of training and competitions, isn't it? Yeah. If people want to get a hold of you. Sorry?
Can't wait.
Yeah, no, it's going to be great. I think next year, fingers crossed, I think, let's hope that the country will be able to go again full on for the whole year. Fingers crossed. I think we should. If people want to get hold of you or follow you or ask you a question or find out more about the sport or anything like that, what's the place that they can do that for you?
Facebook's the best thing. I'm a bit rubbish on social media, but it's the most active I am on is Facebook. I have Instagram, but I'm not that active on it. But yeah, no, Facebook's brilliant.
Contact. And is that just Holly Barber?
Yeah. Super. And our yard page, which is Pine Lodge School of Classical Equitation.
Superb, cool. And also there's the Association of Working Equitation. I think that's what the Facebook page is if anyone wants to find that, but they can always message anyone and we'll tell them which one it is. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Holly. It's been an absolute pleasure, and look forward to seeing you soon. And someone said, hope you're coming up north again. I'm sure that's part of the plan. There will be some people going up north, no doubt, and serving all parts of the country next year. Thank you, Holly. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.